Hello, everybody, and welcome again back to Procrastinator's Pit Stop with Words with Laura. Welcome to today's episode, where we're diving into the power of a single word: participation. Actually, it's participate. I like saying participation. This word isn't just about showing up; it's about stepping in, engaging fully, and owning your role in the life you're creating. When you choose to participate, you tap into your ability to shape your future, break free from limitations, and grow into the best version of yourself. However, if you don't use the power of this word, the alternative is staying stuck, repeating old patterns of thinking and behaving that quietly hold you back. Let's explore this one word can either propel you forward or keep you standing still. Laura, take it away.
Yeah. So, hello, Chris, and listeners. So, participate. When's the last time you think you actually used that word in a conversation with another person or with yourself? You actually use the word participate.
Probably going back a few months, and I was probably telling my daughter she needs to participate in.
Okay. All right. Not a very common word that we use. We all know this word. And I think most people, they think they know the definition, and they do. They know a version, I think a very generic definition or meaning of the word. But do you know the actual definition, Chris?
You know what? I just know that, something along the lines of to partake in or to do something as an activity.
Yeah. Yes. And that's how we all use that word. We do. But let me just kind of wrote it down, because when you look at the etymology, it comes from the stem it's Latin. The stem is particeps, which means to share in, to take part, to partner, to become actively involved. So nobody would refute that. Oh, yeah. But most people, when they think about the word participate, they may not really hone in on, I am actively participating, or the word I really love out of the etymology is I am partnering. I am partnering with this, whatever this is that you're participating in. I'm partnering. Okay. So where this word has really come up in my work as a coach is with couples. Okay. And it's very common. Anyone who's in a marriage, a relationship of that kind, or it could even be with coworkers. It could even in siblings and whomever, but it could also be this example I'm going to come up with is even something you do within yourself. But let's just stay with the couple. What I hear a lot that goes on with couples is they have conflict, which I actually don't even love the word conflict or fight or argument. I choose the word rub instead. Like we just hit a rub, like when you do pass somebody, on the street and you both like rub shoulders kind of hard. It's like, that was not pleasant. That's what I like that word better than we had an argument, we had a fight, whatever. But anyway, so couples will have these rubs, and he says something or she says something to you and you didn't kind of really take kind to that, didn't love it. And so then you kind of, respond back, feed back something, and then they back to you, and then you back to them. And there it goes, a very well-worn, well-known pattern between the two of you. Okay. This just happens. And what a lot of couples will tell me, when I'm talking to the husband or the wife individually, and then even in a couples group session, they will say things like, well, I don't want to do that anymore, or I don't want you to do that anymore, or you can't just come into a room and say this to me. And this is very common speak. This is just what it sounds like. I don't want to do this anymore with you, or I don't want you doing this, when they're addressing the conflict that they have and how to get out of it. Does that kind of languaging sound familiar to you just with yourself? Yeah, like you could be shaving and you could be like, you know what? Okay, so we got this coming up and that might happen. And I don't want to do that anymore. Or you'll even talk to her. You have a wife, right? And a child. And you might say, honey, like, I was thinking about the conflict, the fight, the rub we had the other day. And I don't want to do that anymore. Maybe that would be something you could see yourself saying to your wife. Okay. And what I've seen, not only with my couples, but myself as well, that we can say that and not a whole lot happens, meaning, oh my gosh, here it comes again. The thing I thought I said I don't want to do, or I've told my partner, don't do this anymore because it upsets me or whatever. It happens again and again and again. So very common. And so this word participate, what I teach in words is we're not just talking from the head. We are really operating from the whole system. Most people aren't. Most people are operating from here up, and they're leaving all this intelligence and all this power to the side of the road. And so one, we've all said, I don't want this, I don't want to do this, whatever, and it didn't yield the change behavior. The word participate. So first of all, I'm just going to just flat out give you how this sounds. So you can think of a thing between you and your wife that you're like, yeah, this is a recycled rub, a recycled argument. This is a pattern thing we have. Whenever we talk about money or whenever we go on vacation or whenever we plan for this, we tend to get into this back and forth, right? And I don't want to do that anymore, but still yet it happens. What you can do is Chris, you could just decide, I'm not going to participate in that anymore. I'm not going to participate in that. And there's many things about that. I'm not going to participate in a conversation about that, or I'm not going to participate in the conversation the way I have in the past. Makes sense? You hear me? So let me stop. Do you have any questions or any comments just about where I'm at right now?
No, I mean, it all makes a lot of sense, and it does shine a new light into actually those participation ribbons used to get for just, participating in track and field as a kid, or, certificates of participation, which doesn't really mean a lot. And so it's interesting that we've kind of not put too much, I guess, weight into that word, just participate.
Yeah. In a way, it's just you're there, but really it's not. And I believe that all these words, we have a much deeper knowing and a knowing of what that word really is, but we all just kind of contain from the neck up, right? So what I encourage people to do with this word is first understand that when you are participating, when you're doing the thing, so we can even interchange those in this moment, when you're doing the thing you do in that typical conflict, when you show up, you are participating, you are partnering, which to me, I take that very seriously. I am actually co-partnering. I am co-creating this stress, and I don't want this stress. And guess what? Neither does your partner. So when you even just use the word participate, I don't want to participate in this. I don't want to be a co-creator, a co-partner of this kind of stress. It literally, it affects what happens in your body. A kind of letting go, a kind of maybe submission to the resistance, to the rub, a surrender or submission, like, I'm not doing this anymore. And then already that changes your state, your emotional, physical state. I'm not in that fight or flight. I'm not in that ready to go for resistance, got the wall up, got the shields up. It's really just like, okay, so it almost begs the question, so what do I want to participate in? I'm not going to participate in that old argument anymore, in that dynamic that we can fall into, which then will naturally leave it wide open. Then what do you want to participate in? What do you want to be a partner to or in? So it's very simple. It's using the word, using your words. Use the word participate to get a very different experience than to use the word, I don't want. You can't do that. I don't like this. This always happens. This has kind of become the automatic on autopilot speak. A lot of people, how they sound when they're talking about the unwanted. I know 28 years of coaching, I've heard it over and over and over. And I practice this because I made the switch myself. So I can. And so here's what I would offer people who are like, this sounds kind of interesting, is don't make this a goal. Don't make it a have to. When you are going about the rest of today and you think about, okay, I heard this thing about the word participate and it made sense to me in a certain way. Then you can just start scanning the landscape of your life and you can be like, yeah, like even things like, me and my partner, we always say we're going to get a lot of things done, like home projects done on the weekends, but then inevitably we don't do it. Then you, the one who's hearing this, could say, I don't want to participate in that anymore. Meaning that I don't follow through, or I avoid things that are important to me, or I'm being lazy, or whatever you're going to define that is. I don't want to participate in that because it doesn't feel good to me. So I'm just not going to participate in that anymore. And just leave it at that. You don't have to make a goal or a plan about this because your body will feel it and let your body work on that so that this happens today after you've heard this. And let's say 2 days later, husband, wife, partner comes up and says, hey, we're going to rake the leaves this weekend, right? You'll take a beat and you'll be, wait a minute. Am I really going to do this? Can I really commit to this? Because if I can't totally commit and know I'll have the energy and I'll give the time and I'm going to follow through, then I'm not going to say yes, because I don't want to participate anymore in a pattern or a habit of I say and I don't do, which really for everybody, that is an accruing kind of credit in a bank account in us, an emotional bank account that doesn't feel good. And even that, I don't want to participate in that. So this is not a goal. It's not a have to. It's not a task. It is let your body register. I'm not participating in this, or I'd like to participate in this, and let it do what it does. And just notice how it will change the way you think and what you ask yourself, what you require of yourself, what you decide for yourself.
It's interesting. I'm gonna have to give that a try. But the first thing that came to my mind, actually, especially when you're talking about couples, if a couple comes up to you and they start this that normal thing where it's going to escalate, if you just turn around and say, I'm not going to participate in this right now, I mean, doesn't that kind of set the other person off some?
Well, I don't know. So let's see. Let's give you a sample of that. So let's just pretend I'm your partner, okay? I can be your business partner, or I'll just stand in for your wife, right? And so then I got to go talk to her about this because I asked her not to do this or whatever, and the thing happened or whatever. So you go and you're like, ask her about it, right? And then she may answer it, and she may respond to you, and then you have your typical response. But didn't we talk about this, blah blah, or whatever? And then let's just say she starts to do the next thing she does is kind of escalate. And then you see, I know where this is going to go. Because I was just trying to just get this nipped in the bud. I was doing my best to be balanced and loving and compassionate and kind, but still I'm a little aggravated and annoyed. So now I see that one who may now start to go right into the next thing they say is going to throw us into an old pattern. And I don't want to participate in that, right? Now, so here we are at the moment, Chris. There's two ways I can say this. Anyone can say this. And there's many more than two, but we could say, well, I'm not talking to you about this, or I'm not going there with you, or don't talk to me like that. All of these things. Or there you go again. They can say that and notice how that feels. Or one can say, you know what? I'm not going to participate in this. I'm not going to participate in going down this rabbit hole. I'm just not going to. It's such a different thing than what a lot of couples do, which often give a directive or a command. You can't say this. You can't just come to me and do this when I'm in the middle of this, and then you want to go up. And there's usually that you can't, which doesn't feel good. It doesn't land well. But when one says, I'm not going to participate in this, what they're actually doing is they're taking ownership of how they're going to show up. It's not a hand to the face. It is, I'm not going to participate in this. And for people who might not be used to this, it might seem like I'm pushing you off. And then if somebody who tries this has that, then you can say, no, listen, don't misunderstand me. I don't want to participate in the same round and round recycled argument that we have every time. I'd like something different. And either right there on the spot, okay, let's try to figure out how to have this differently. Or, okay, so think about how we can have this very same conversation, but one that's much more productive and fruitful versus the one that usually has us upset, retreating to our own corners, and feeling like I don't have a real partner, or support.
No, that does sounds like an interesting way, sounds like maybe a less aggressive way to get into that as well. And I know that sometimes, especially with the holidays, we talk about participating in festivities, and how if you don't participate, then you're all of a sudden like the Scrooge or the Grouch or the bah humbug, right?
Yeah. Yes. And I'm glad you brought that up, because we are like right there, at this. And I was thinking, how would this be useful for just a new adopter of this? And like with anything, it's like, just take baby steps with this concept and this idea and the use of this word. So even with Christmas, instead of like kind of going all Grinch and all big with it, you could just say, well, what's something that I really don't enjoy? And so, for example, maybe you find yourself, a lot of people have traditions, so it's the same thing every year. Same people, same food, same all of that, agenda and all that. And so maybe there's one part of the holiday event that from past experience I never enjoy this, or this really can get me a little bit worked up or amped up, or really irritable or upset. For example, sometimes when family gather around, they will start talking about topics such as politics or news or whatever that people have opposing opinions and beliefs about, and it can start to get a little bit sticky in the room, uncomfortable, a little hot around the collar because people are sharing and expressing. So that kind of example. And you may be somebody who's either very active in that kind of conversation every year, or you might be somebody who's like, no, I sit back and I just kind of let the ones who talk, but I don't enjoy it at all. That would be a great example where it's like, I'm not going to participate in that part of the experience this Christmas, which means when it's before dinner, after dinner, during dessert, whenever that might happen, it's like, I will go and clean the kitchen. I'll go play with the kids. Wherever the kids are, I'll go find them and play them. Or I'll go sit, on the back patio or in the sunroom or wherever you might, if it's cold, then maybe you just pick a room. Or even in that room and say, I'm going to actually check out and I'm just going to, and then whatever you want to do with your mind, escape and be like, I'm just going to think about all the things I'm grateful for, or what is 2025 going to look like for me? And that would be an example. And it's just unique, whatever you decide, you want to do. But that would be a way to use this word with the holidays coming up.
I'm definitely going to use that one because there's definitely a lot of things that, I say, well, actually, it's the other way around too. I'm going to participate in some things that, I normally don't. But at the same time, there's some things that do.
Yeah. And I'd encourage you, are you willing to share, or you don't have to, but, it might make for just a, fun, helpful example.
Yeah. I, for one, am no longer going to participate in last minute holiday shopping from December. And, I've tried to do this, year in, year out, but it never fails. Something always comes up. You get to go out, but I'm not doing it anymore. So holiday shopping after December, I think not going to happen anymore just because, people are crazy. Everything's full. And yeah, that's what I'm not going to be participating in anymore.
Okay, good. Good. And for other people who might actually on the scene at the holiday thing, there's so many ways you can do this too. I'm not going to participate in overindulgence, which is just between you and you. Or I'm not going to participate in gossip and judgment, which some, families can do when they get around. I'm not going to, so I literally won't partner. And that's the key thing I have to take away. Do I want to partner with that? Do I want to partner in that? The creation of that, the experience of that, the consequences of that. So yeah, so much to do with this, and start wherever wherever you are.
Well, and wouldn't you know it, that does bring us up close to the time now. But thank you so much for being with us again, Laura. And next week is Christmas. However, we do have an episode in waiting there that we can use for that day. So don't worry about that. We will have a word for you for next week as well. And once again, Laura, thank you so much for coming. And thank you to our listeners. And just remember, if you can't find that motivation or inspiration for yourself today, just go out and try to be that motivation or inspiration for someone else. And we'll see you again soon.